Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Move to approve as
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? That motion carries. Item number 3 is payment of the bills. Steve, did you sign off on those?
I did. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? That motion carries. Number 4 is the approval of the minutes from September 21st, 2020.
Mr. Chair, there were minor changes made by Board Member Ruzek this morning. They have been made.
Hearing that, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? That motion carries. All right, item number 5 is consent agenda. Looks like we have about 8 of them. If no one chooses to pull one off, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Since there was a supplement to one of the agenda items, do we need to pull that, or can we just amend the consent agenda?
You can just amend it.
Just amended.
Okay.
Yep.
Move to approve the amended consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's made, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right, that motion carries. Item number 6, we have old business, the management team report.
Nothing to report, Mr. Chair.
Well, that was easy.
Yep.
Moving on.
Really, nothing?
No?
Thank you. The next governor's order comes out next Monday, the
Oh,
12th,
okay.
if I remember
12th.
correctly.
A week from today?
Yep.
So we'll keep this on the agenda because we'll have something to talk about on the
Yeah.
15th. So,
All right, moving on. Item number 7 is public hearing. We have none, so we'll move to 8A, the sanitary sewer manhole lining.
don't ask.
Oh, boy. So who's talking to it?
What's that?
Who's talking to it?
Is this something Dale gave to you?
You did.
Uh-oh.
So we can ask all kinds of questions you want the answer to?
This, he tells me, is a very simple receive and approve. You can see his memo there.
So
Oh, no.
by making these changes to the manhole covers, it should theoretically reduce the amount of infiltration.
Yes.
How much?
I could not tell you that.
Good
But
job, Scott.
But in theory, correct.
So is it just a big gasket on them now?
Yeah.
Do we know how these were identified, other than a good guess?
No, I'm not sure how he identified him. Dale's very procedural, so I'm sure
Alright.
he went
All right.
through it.
Steve, got any questions?
Nope. That was pretty straightforward.
Yes.
All right, hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
So based on staff review and recommendation, I move to receive the quotes.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 And based on staff review and recommendation, move to approve the quote to R&H Painting in the amount of $10,522 with funding from the Sewer Operating Fund.
But a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? We let Patrick off easy.
I can do Dale's job.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, item 8B, this is improvement 2021. Let's approve the change order number 1 and pay the estimated number 4. Is that you, Larry?
Yes, no microphone, is it?
Uh-oh.
Talk loud.
Okay. Earlier this spring, you approved,
Here she comes.
Here she comes.
I just noticed it now, otherwise I would have said something sooner.
Oh, I can't pull your contract. We already signed it. Thank you, Lisa.
Earlier this year, you awarded a contract to T.A. Shivsky and Sons to work in the southeast area for street improvements.
Over the course of the summer, they've been working on that project all summer here, and they're nearing the completion. Unfortunately, with any road improvement, you never know kind of what's underneath the roadway, and we encountered some poor soils that needed to be removed as a part of the project. So tonight, we're looking for approval of a change order in the amount of $238,000 for soil correction on the project and some other residual allowances for topsoil and construction limits.
One quick question on the whole project itself. Road signs, things that were in the neighborhood, was that part of the bidding process for this whole project, or is that just extra for us?
Yes, that was part, I mean,
Not that it's a lot, I'm just
yeah,
curious.
they had signs in the contract. I think there's some question about some of the neighborhood watch signs that aren't part of the project, but there is signage in the project scope.
It really came about because of the county's project on H2. They took down existing signs, and apparently people noticed that they were all brand-new signs that they put back up and wanted to know why they were spending that kind of money. I said, just talk to the county. But the only ones that they didn't replace were the neighborhood watch signs with the old ones. So I was just curious what our plan was, if we know yet. Are we?
Yeah, anytime you're doing a regulatory sign, stop signs, speed limit signs, you want to take the opportunity to upgrade those to the new standards, because they're controlling traffic. And so, we did that, I know that. We did new street name signs, but some of these other signs that are more, neighborhood preference or that type of thing, aren't installed. Now, the neighborhood watch signs, though there's, I think that was maybe a sheriff's initiative to
Well,
put
that's what I was
those up.
gonna ask. Do you, connections with the sheriff's department, you know, do they still have that program in place to put signs out?
I don't think so. In fact, that was a discussion at, I think, a couple years ago at one of the Night to Unites, that residents were wondering how come there's no more. But I don't know if that, I think maybe with the new sheriff, that got kind of maybe shuffled to the side. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, maybe we could have staff just make a contact and find out if they even put those things out anymore.
Sure.
Because I noticed the ones on the county roads are pretty old looking, so I was just curious. That's,
The other thing I wanted to mention is, while this is a significant change order, we're still over 620,000 under our original estimates for this project. So we received a tremendous bid, and we're still seeing a lot of savings on the project from our initial projections and budget.
I know when we were having public hearings, there was some residents that, and one of these, I think it was Homewood, where they had some banks that needed to have terracing or something put in. And those all dealt with already, as far as the landscaping
I
issues?
think they're getting there. There were some steep slopes, and we were looking at retaining wall for some of that, but.
That's not in this ad thing of 200 and something?
No, this isn't part of,
Okay,
of that
Okay.
change.
yet to be determined, maybe. No more questions for me.
All right, no other questions or comments. Larry, you want this in two separate motions?
Yes.
I'll make a motion based on the town engineer's review and recommendation. I'll make a motion for change order number 1 in the amount of $238,400.60.
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.
Based on town engineer's review and recommendation, I'd approve to pay the estimate number 4 in the amount of $276,367.35.
Second that.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? That motion carries. All right, Larry, just, next one yours too, the 2020 water system
Yes,
improvement?
I'll cover this one. Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. In late 2018, we were notified that our wells had exceeded a new health-based guidance for manganese. And over the course of the last year and a half, we've been taking steps to try to improve our well system. Currently, we have been blending other water sources, so we stayed below the guidance. And we've made water system improvements over the last 6 months to improve that delivery of water. This is the last step in that, in doing SCADA system upgrades. It's a supervisory control system for the water system to improve the way those wells and water treatment plants talk to each other and improve the efficiency. So if you recall, back in November of last year, we had some recommendations for improvements, and part of it was the capital improvements to the water system, and then we had these SCADA improvements to do to finish the job. So those capital improvements are nearing completion. They're doing the final testing for that, and now we're ready to do the SCADA system improvements to finish that job. So tonight, we're looking for approval of a quote. We received a quote from Automatic Systems to complete the work. It's a professional service for them to come in and do the SCADA system upgrades. The quote is attached, so you can see the improvements to the different wells, pump houses, and just integrating them all together for these upgrades. With that, I can answer any questions you may have.
Scott, you got anything?
We have been obviously talking about this whole effort for a while, and I know that there had been some specific numbers tossed around at that point. Is this in addition to that, or is this one piece of several pieces of that umbrella dollar amount?
Yeah, if you recall the memo from November of last year, there were capital pieces, and there was the SCADA improvements, and there was a budget for everything.
Okay.
The capital improvements came in a little bit over what we were estimating, for a total of $440,000. And then you see these costs for $64,000. So our original estimate was $450,000. We're just gonna be near that $500,000 for the improvements.
Okay, and so the infrastructure's in place. This is to actually make it flow or help us program it so that we're not running around trying to turn the dials manually.
Yes.
So this is going to be fully operational by November? December?
Let's see here, if they had the timing for that. Sometime this fall, I
Okay.
would guess. I
All
don't
right.
see a date on their quote, but.
All right.
Well, this was also dependent on when well number 4 was done, wasn't it? Or didn't it have any, I don't think they wanted to even try to implement this till all that work was complete.
I think you're correct. And I think they were just in the testing, firing up the testing it when
Yeah.
we had our last executive meeting.
We could ask our Public Works guy.
That's right.
Public Works.
I understand that well, that we were looking to get more capacity out of, we were talking about it a little bit today.
Yeah.
Was at 550 when we started the work, and now they've been ramping it up to see if, see how much they can get out of it, and now they're at 850, and they're testing at 850, and they're gonna try to get even more out of that. But yeah, the improvements are made, now we're kind of testing and seeing what the sweet spot is for that pump, and then there's this integration, so.
Okay.
For the public, you mentioned manganese. And could you clarify for the public about manganese, what you know about it?
Yeah, manganese is a natural occurring mineral that's in water across the state. And just in 2018, the health department changed the guidance for the amount of manganese in deliverable water to the public. And so while we had wells that had no manganese, we had other wells that had over the guidance. And so since that time, we've been blending the water to stay below the guidance levels. and this will,
And it could be mandated at any time. It's a guideline currently, but we're
Guideline, that's not a-
anticipating the future.
mandate yet, yes.
Secondly, can you explain the word SCADA?
SCADA is Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. That's what it stands for. And it's the way the water systems speak to each other. Well number one speaking to well number 5 on when they need to go on. And then there's back at the Public Works headquarters, they can monitor what wells are on at a particular moment and make changes if they're seeing one being taxed too long, or changing pumps. So turning off a pump so it just doesn't run to death, and you can turn on a different pump in a different well. So we're not burning out our pumps.
So this answers the question that Scott asked about not having to do the manual work also. Great.
Larry, does that whole system also account for every gallon of water?
Yes.
Okay, so this is tied into our water acquisition permits through the DNR, and so obviously SCADA helps the township, but it's also something that, say, if Minnesota Department of Health wants to come in, or if DNR, we've got this in place now, where it makes it easier for them to see what's happening with their water.
Yeah, it acquires that data ongoing for every pump and well in town, so.
Which is our responsibility because of all this concern about water, and it's just a big issue now. It's a utility that's getting very expensive, so this all makes sense to, at least so we keep track of exactly what we're pulling out, what we're putting back. So if we ever do, like I say, if we ever do have to be monitored, this is a good system for us, because it's a good inventory process. They can come in and look at it without us a cumbersome, some sort of review to try to put it all together, so. All right, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I would look for a motion for, looks like you want to split up in two, the receive and approve.
Yeah. I'll move, based on staff and town engineer review and recommendation, move to receive the proposal.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And based on staff and town engineer review and recommendation, move to approve the proposal from Automatic Systems Company in the amount of $64,068 to complete the SCADA integration work with funding from the water operating budget for the 2020 water system improvements.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. All right, thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Item 8D, the Bruce Vento Regional Trail. Is that you, Tom?
Scott Yonkey's here from Ramsey County also. They're here requesting town board consider support of a resolution which would adopt or help recognize master plan updates for the Bruce Vento Trail. That's a north-south trail corridor going through the township, partially constructed from St. Paul up to Berkeley Road in White Bear Lake. And there's a gap between that and Hugo, built from Hugo north. It follows the BSNF rail corridor until we get up to about this point here, and the rail becomes active up to Hugo. As a result, that corridor is not available for use as a trail. There's no plans to abandon that line anytime soon. Other portions of the rail have been abandoned and have been turned from rails to trails. So with that, the county's been working with the communities along the corridor on master planning another corridor route, and a couple of routes have been in consideration. Provided the information in your packet there. But basically, from Berkeley Road up to Highway 96 has been master planned. I believe you're soliciting funding for that. Maybe not at this time, but from 96 up to the Hugo border, much of which is in the township, is under consideration. Been looking at a couple of different routes. The strongest consideration would be at this point for Bald Eagle Avenue up to Bald Eagle Boulevard East, up to Taylor, over to Hugo Road and north, with a couple variations for consideration. Buffalo Street and Park Avenue are also there too. So as a result of that, some additional planning is being requested, and an update to the master plan. Again, it's been in effect since 1989. This is a change being requested to that. So the request from the county is for the town board to adopt a resolution of support for additional master planning for that trail.
Tom, what happens when it hits the north end of the township? It goes back to the rail corridor? I thought you,
I only cover the town.
Thank you for your priorities.
Scott, you just want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Scott Yonke. I'm the Planning and Development Director with Ramsey County Parks. And Chair Tom Board, thank you for having me here tonight. So, as Tom had mentioned, the master plan for the Bruce Vento Regional Trail, it is a fairly old master plan. So, and all of our regional parks and regional trails have master plans, and they are governed by the Metropolitan Council. So as we go through and update our master plans from time to time, as a component to that, before we take the master plan to our county board and then ultimately submit to Met Council, that's where we go out and ask for supporting resolutions to include within that plan. As far as the trail corridor, what Tom had mentioned, so from Berkeley Road up to almost up to Highway 96, I would say Hoffman and Highway 61. We actually have an application in for regional solicitation funds. And so we're awaiting to see if we are successful on receiving those funds. So if we do, that would be implementation 2024 from Berkeley Road almost up to Whitaker Street. Beyond that, as far as the planning, so the trail, once it hits County Road J, so that's the northern line of Ramsey County, and that's where Washington County starts. So Washington County has a regional trail that is master planned, and it's coming down from the north, and it's called the Hardwood Creek Regional Trail. So at County Road J, those two trails in the future will connect. There is a regional trail, I believe, that is constructed to Hugo, I think, or maybe just a little bit south of there. But so there is still a gap from Hugo to County Road J. So eventually, Washington County is working their way in implementing that trail down. But once it is completed, as far as the whole section of the Bruce Vento Trail, in theory, it will connect into the Hardwood Creek Regional Trail, and then you would have a trail system that would literally take you from downtown St. Paul all the way up to the Canadian border. And that is also the trail that is considered is the USBR 41 trail, the United States Bike Route 41 trail. So that's a nationally recognized trail route, and it also merges in with the William Munger Trail. So there's a lot of trail systems that connect going north, but this is an integral component to that overall trail system.
Well, so the end goal, just for the township, we have to figure out where all it has to do is hit 61 and County Road J.
So are you talking the master plan, or are you talking
Yeah, for us, we have to decide when it's coming through the township, but our end run stops at 61 and J, and then it picks up wherever you guys are gonna figure it out?
So the Bruce Vento Regional Trail stops at County Road J. So from there, it will connect, that's where the Washington County, Ramsey County line is. So the Hardwood Creek Regional Trail would carry it north from there. So the Bruce Vento basically stops at County Road J, and then from there it will connect into another regional trail, which would complete a much larger trail system. So as far as Ramsey County Parks, we have the jurisdiction of regional trail of Bruce Vento is from Larpenteur to County Road J. Everything south of Larpenteur into downtown St. Paul, the City of St. Paul Parks and Rec has jurisdiction over that component.
Does the Rush Line corridor interfere with any of this as you go up?
The Rush Line corridor is in the same corridor as the Bruce Vento. So I've been working very extensively with the Rush Line group. So the Rush Line corridor does come up from St. Paul, and right now the Bruce Vento Regional Trail is located in that corridor, and it was anticipated that at some point in the future that corridor would become a transit corridor. And at that time, then we would work, and then they would both be codependent within that corridor, and that still is what is being planned today. So the Rush Line very much integrates with the Bruce Vento. They're planned, and they have some very vital connections and serve each other with helping bring pedestrians to the Rush Line corridor, and vice versa, helps provide that pedestrian access via if they're riding the Rush Line and getting off or getting on. But so from I would say a little bit north of downtown St. Paul, all the way up to Berkeley Road, that's where they're actually merged in the same corridor. From there, they split out, and they're in separate corridors.
Seems like a lot to put into that one corridor, but especially when you come up,
It's gonna be busy.
especially when you come up into White Bear, it gets awful.
It will be a busy corridor, but there is enough room in that corridor to have both a Rush Line BRT route and a regional trail route, and still have plenty open space area and what is needed for stormwater management and buffers. So it is still a fairly wide and a decent corridor, being that it was an old railway corridor. So you have that sufficient room in it.
Yeah, any questions?
The questions I have are pretty much, if I read through this correctly, you're still trying to figure out what's the best route from Highway 96 up to County Road J. I saw 3 or 4 different possible routes, which might go up Bald Eagle Avenue and Division Street and Long and all these other options. So is this show of support to say, yeah, you need to continue taking a look at this plan, or is it to say this is the one plan that we think we want you to go with?
The route that's shown in the master plan right now is what we call the preferred route, as it goes up Bald Eagle, and then it hits the lake, and then it wraps around the lake over to Taylor. That is the preferred route. So we, as part of the master planning activity that we did as we're developing this, we did look, we went through a feasibility study to really determine where does that corridor need to go, being that it cannot be in the original location, which is right on the railway track. So as part of that, we actually did that assessment that really analyzed all those routes. We had several public engagement meetings that studied those routes that you were just mentioning. And from there, it was referred down to that preferred corridor. So that is the preferred route right now. We do have a couple variables in there as we are looking further as we get into a higher level design. There might be some components that might be brought up that we may need to look at Park or Buffalo or a couple different street sections just for a little flexibility. But the preferred route that is in the master plan right now, that is what we are moving forward.
Okay, I didn't understand option 1 was the preferred route.
Correct.
So you're very aware that on certain sections of Bald Eagle Boulevard, it's pretty narrow. There's not much room for a bike path.
Correct. So Bald Eagle Boulevard, what we are looking at right now is we're going to be launching what I call the Phase 2 design for the Bruce Vento, and that's basically from Whitaker Street north, all the way up to County Road J. So, and what it is it's a much higher level planning and preliminary design for that section to really start identifying, okay, this is the preferred route. I want to understand that section more. I want to get into a little higher level or schematic, and then a very into a preliminary design to start identifying what are those impacts. Are there is there things in here that are going to lead us, or that we have to think a little bit differently about, as well as how does the trail relate with some of the roadway corridors? And if so, what does that mean to those roadway corridors? So we're going to be going into that design here, and hopefully we should have a consultant on board, I would say at the beginning of December. And that'll be about a year, probably about a year-long project, but that'll get us into kind of a mid-level preliminary design, which would be a basis for a final design down the road. But that's really, ultimately we're gonna be studying that preferred trail corridor option 1 in a lot more detail.
I know further down south, where you said the BRT and the bike path share areas, it's, from my understanding, it's designed for that. So you've got buffers on either side, and theoretically, it's just the bus and just the bikes or walkers.
Correct.
Bald Eagle Avenue, Bald Eagle Boulevard, Hugo Road obviously has cars, and it's not real wide in a lot of spots. So I'd be curious to see how that planning develops, to be how creative you can be in making sure that it all fits, because I'm guessing that you're expecting a fair number of riders along this route north. I mean, down south, I've heard that there's quite a few. So it just is, I guess my concern, my caution would be just the potential for cars and bicyclists to interact. And I'm sure you're already thinking that, but I'm just voicing it.
Thank you.
First off, I think the trail is a very good idea. It's just a matter of location, location, location. And I think we've kind of went around this business of the new school. You said there are some obstacles, but both Bald Eagle Avenue, Division, are on either side of the proposed new school. We have no idea, and I know you're not ready to put this on the pavement, but we have no idea what the impacts are going to be in that neighborhood with the new school that they're proposing. That's number one. And number two, the trail seems to be diverted away from White Bear itself, maybe by design. Wasn't there an option that was under consideration to go on Lake Avenue all the way up to where it crosses and go up Portland, away from all this, and then coming back to the corridor?
Yes. Yes, there was. So very early in the process, and this was probably about a year and a half ago, we had, at Parks, we had identified several corridors as I would say, on the west side of 61 and on the east side of 61. And in the corridor that you were referring to is on the east side. So going through town, so the Lake Avenue Trail or Lake Links Trail going up to the county park, and then up Portland and going over that way. After our first initial meeting that we had with the public, we ended up removing that corridor because that corridor did not deceive to get a lot of support. There was the Lake Avenue Trail is already a high use trail.
Yes.
So there's a lot of traffic on there already, and there was a concern with the amount of additional pedestrian traffic that would be put on the trail above and beyond that. So you had that component. You had that the congestion that very well could happen, as well as once you did get up to the White Bear County Park, then you had that second barrier of how do you go north and then get back over onto the west side of 61. So there was a lot of difficulties with that corridor, and ultimately that corridor was removed just because it was lack of support.
With that, from Whitaker, you still got to cross 96 or 61, so you're going to cross either a bridge or not. I mean, you're going to have to cross it one way or the other, correct? Or
Correct.
twice?
So right now, as far as the regional trail, as it's extended north from Berkeley,
Yep.
goes north and then it hits Hoffman and it follows Hoffman over to Highway 61. So our solicitation application we have in right now, that's the terminus point of that application, because there's a lot of coordination efforts that we're working with the Rush Line Group, and it serves better to construct certain portions of the trail at like times of construction with that. But, so going north of there, we do need to cross the railway tracks, but we'd be utilizing an existing pedestrian crossing by Marina Triangle, Whitaker Street. So that obviously would be rebuilt when that section of trail goes north up on Lincoln. But yes, you do have to cross Highway 96. As of right now, we'd be looking at either one of two scenarios, an improved at-grade crossing, or longer term at some point in time, is there a separated grade crossing? I'm not sure yet, but that's what our design that we're going to be going into soon would identify what would be the preferred method to get over some of those roadways. That, I believe, is a little bit different from the Lake Avenue and then going up on the east side and back up Portland and going over, of trying to get back across Highway 61 in a corridor where your car traffic is going much faster. You have you still have a high ADT either way, but your traffic is going a lot faster, and then trying to make those roadway crossing improvements to be conducive to that environment is a little different from in an area right along on Highway 96.
And I know it's not your concern, but the Lake Links Trail, that would have been an ideal, because it goes around the lake where they could cross over onto this new trail if it went over at Portland, and they could continue on their merry way wherever bikers like to bike or walkers like to walk. But I know that's not the preferred option. It's an off the table option, actually.
Yeah, that, like I said, that option was taken off from lack of support. And then ultimately the preferred corridor that we have right now going up Bald Eagle. So what the intention is yes, it's a regional corridor. It goes through White Bear. It doesn't go through right downtown White Bear, but the idea is White Bear would then look at providing local trail connectors that will connect into it to bring people into the downtown area through White Bear Lake. So, but as of right now, that's what the master plan is calling out the preferred option 1 route.
Yeah. And the east side of East Bald Eagle Boulevard is a county road,
Correct.
but not in a one-way, and that's kind of where this ends up. As Scott said, it's very narrow. And so to have two-way traffic plus a bike corridor is almost impossible.
That's why I said I'd be curious to see how this planning goes out.
There could be a very good possibility that as far as getting into a higher level of design, that depending on the desired trail, as I would say, the desired trail design or how it looks like, if it's an on-road or off-road or the width of the trail, depending on how that is. That is one solution that could possibly happen, that there would potentially need to be a one-way system on a portion of that road. But that's what we're going to be getting into, a little higher design on this next phase.
Well, we've been battling a one-way decision on East Bald Eagle Boulevard for some time, but again, the county just redid that whole road, still striped 2-lane, and at this time, the board wasn't willing to have it turned back to us for a one-way. and now you're saying if this trail goes through there, you want it a one-way, which means you're gonna give it back to the township.
As far as how roadway jurisdictions would go, I would rather prefer somebody from our Public Works Department to talk about the policy on that one. But it would, if it did turn into a one-way, yes, then there would need to be a future discussion in regards to how does that one-way system impact both the county as well as the township, and who would be the owner of that roadway system after that. That would have to be a conversation that may need to be had in the future. As far as implementation of this section of trail, is not going to be like within the next couple of years. It's still going to be out several years before the section of trail, I would say, going north of the Hoffman Highway 61 intersection all the way up to County Road J. It's still going to be out several years.
But to Scott's point, you're looking for a resolution for support for the board, but you're forcing this trail to go on a road that's a two-way that literally we've decided should not be a one-way. So whether they discuss it now or 3 years from now, if things don't change, that I think you're chasing a route that's not going to get support from the township. At least your preferred route is, if I get it right, Scott.
Yeah, why was Long taken off as the third choice or whatever?
So as far as in our last meeting, our last public meeting that we had in 2019, it was in November 2019, and that's when we brought up the three route scenarios that were on the west side of 61. One of them is, option one is the preferred route that we have right here. Option number two was still going up Bald and then potentially cutting over to Division and then going north on Division and then connecting and then hitting Park and then connecting into Hugo Road. And then the last one was basically going up a portion on Bald Eagle and then cutting further over to the east to get over to Long. As far as there was challenges and there was opportunities and challenges on every single route that we had. As far as the support that we were getting, the preferred route was that we have shown right now. That's the route that received the highest level of support from the public. Route number two, which is the one that if it cuts through the school or if it's before the school and hitting Division, however that, it's basically trying to get over to Division. How it gets over to Division, that route actually was, out of those three, scored the lowest. Option number three, which was getting all the way over to Long, that was kind of medium scoring in regards to how that was ranked with the public.
The people the public meeting that, without debating who was there and who wasn't there, but primarily it's people that would prefer it near the lake. I mean, really, it comes down to having it come down Bald Eagle Avenue and having this beautiful picture along the lake and then out. But from a practical standpoint, that puts us in the dilemma of the one-way, and I'm not a person that wants the one-way because I don't think it's in the best interest of the town. I think it's in the best interest for people that want to walk and bike. But from a moving of citizens, that one-way is not a tremendous option. The long road or long, whatever it's called, what is Long Street? Avenue, okay. That's pretty much after it cuts over from Bald Eagle, it's a straight shot to Hugo Road pretty much, and off it goes. But it doesn't take into the view of the lake. And I know we've been fighting one-ways for quite a while.
I think we know too, on Hugo Road, as it goes around a part of Bald Eagle Lake, it gets pretty narrow as well.
It does.
And if there's a lot that you're planning, I know, but if that is considered one way, that would be a real choke point for a lot of people. That would be a little more challenging, I think. Along Bald Eagle Boulevard, yes, you got a drop off, you got a steep slope, you got a narrow spot. I think Hugo Road's gonna be even more of a challenge.
So from what I understand, Hugo Road, I don't believe I don't think that is changing in regards to the traffic pattern on there. That, I believe, is still a two-way road and would stay a two-way road. Now, as part of our additional planning that we're gonna be looking at, starting in December, that's one of the routes that we're gonna be studying a lot more in regards to see how the road and trail can commingle in there. And you're right, there is one small little pinch area in there. The majority of the corridor, you have ample room in it, but there is one small little pinch area. So at that point, that's where, I mean, we are intending to be creative as we go through there in regards to how can you commingle a regional trail into a corridor like that, and make both applications work. And so we're looking forward on how do we want to accomplish that into that design. But obviously our desired scenario is a separated off-road trail. But there are certain sections of the corridor where we may need to look, is there a different application that we need to look at in a certain section of corridor to make it work. And that's a lot of what this next phase is really going to be covering. Going, as far as you going through up Bald Eagle and then you're wrapping around along the lake, what is the impact of that? How is it gonna look? And again, we had built into the master plan that there is other potential route scenarios if for some reason that component does not work. We did build that into the master plan, that there were other possible route scenarios that could be looked at if for some reason Bald Eagle along the lake is just not a doable option, even though that it's our preferred option right now.
Well, I don't think the board has an objection to supporting a resolution to continue the master planning, but I think there's certain bottlenecks of this plan that we're not gonna like. And, and like I said, I think it's too bad they took off Lake Street. That seemed to be perfect. They've already got the separated traffic from the bike path, and it's all done, and it gets you all the way north. What little bit of jogging you have to do to get back across, to me, I always thought that was the way to go anyway. And you also are able to cut right into downtown. Now you're jumping across 61, you're on the wrong side of town to get into downtown. So any of those trails or bikers are still gonna have to cross back. So, and you're sending them farther away from downtown, coming down Bald Eagle Boulevard, or Bald Eagle Avenue. And without traffic studies, especially because of the high school, they still don't know what that's gonna do for traffic on Division and Bald Eagle Boulevard, or Bald Eagle Avenue. Because now all of a sudden, they're taking a lot of, well, they're doubling the size of the school, doubling the size of students, and a lot of them are coming from the north. So we're already not knowing what's gonna happen with our traffic there. So this is a tough one for you guys, because mixing bike and walking trails without being able to get them off the road, we're just asking for some complications here.
I agree. It is going to be a challenge. It's going to be tough. Unfortunately, the original route that we had in the 98 master plan just isn't doable because it's on an active railway. So we were forced to find an alternative corridor. And we spent upwards to a year and a half, almost 2 years, trying to find that alternate corridor, and which has led into a master plan amendment and documenting those changes. But I agree, it is going to be tough, and there's going to have to be a lot of extensive coordination between agencies in order to make things work.
Have you, with your discussions with the railroad, did they give, is this thing forever? They're always gonna use it? Or, I know these things come and go, and railroads don't like to give up their right-of-ways. I know they're pretty sensitive about that, but.
I don't have a good answer to that question. As of right now, it's an active railway corridor. It's really tough to say how long that they're gonna use that, that's really a question that Minnesota Commercial or BNSF would need to answer on that one, because it's not our property, so we don't have any jurisdiction over that, of the longevity
I think they
of it.
just spent a fair amount of money rebuilding that.
They did.
Yeah,
So it's not going away anytime in the near future.
part of that led to the corridor realignment is because they did put a significant amount of money in. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I think it's gonna be here for many, many years. So in order to complete a regional trail system, we were forced to look at another regional trail corridor.
Well, how does the board feel about, if we do move on this resolution, not committing to a preferred option, leaving all options on the
Oh,
table?
yeah, I would agree with that. Would there be other shows of support you would expect down the road once you get through this next planning phase?
Yes, so keep in mind, the master plan is considered a high-level guiding document. So it's really talking about, this is what we are proposing or planning long-term for this corridor, and knowing that there are several things in that master plan document as far as, because it's guiding you, and you still have to go through a much higher level design when you get into other components of that. Like I said, option one that's shown in there is a preferred corridor, but we still need to go into a much detailed design, and there will be additional public engagement and coming back to the town board for additional items once we get in to a higher level of preliminary design, even if it's an update to seeking additional support for finalizing a plan. We still need to come back to the town board.
Then I would agree with you, Ed.
Well, maybe this is a question for our attorney, but would we have to have this resolution redrafted somehow before we, with what the board's concerns are, before we would even think about moving on with it?
You don't have to legally, but it's not a bad idea to at least have a public expression of what your concerns are.
Can't we put in the minutes that the board or that discussion reflected the board's hesitancy to resolve to support the primary?
That's a good compromise,
Yeah,
because resolutions by their nature are non-binding.
correct.
No, and really the resolution, we understand that there's always gonna be components of the trail that are always gonna be very difficult and very challenging in nature, and there could be some variations as you get into that. As, you know, we're going to each of the municipalities that this regional, the Ramsey County section of the Vento is going through, and we're asking for supporting resolutions, because we'd like to put those supporting the master plan. That doesn't mean that even though that there's a higher level of design that's required beyond the master plan document, but you're supporting the master plan for the information that's in it, for at least moving forward as a guiding document. And we'd like to put those supporting resolutions in before we take to the county, send it to our park and rec agents, or to our park commission, ultimately to a county board, and then for final submission to the Met Council. As far as timeline of this, I'm looking to try submit this master plan to the Metropolitan Council in the next couple months. So we're gonna be trying to move forward with seeking support from the other agencies, and then moving on to our Ramsey County Board, and ultimately submitting it to the Met Council before the end of the year.
Well, hearing that, then, does the board feel comfortable just with going on passing this with just a friendly recommendation, or would you rather have something in the resolution that states we don't prefer one option or the other, we want to keep all of them on the table? Legally, obviously, it's not a legal document, but for future court reference, or, I mean, not court reference, but public reference, when they want to see
Yeah.
how we came up with these decisions, I'm not a fan of having them go back through the minutes. All they're going to see is we supported this resolution. This resolution says the number one option for up Bald Eagle, and we're not in favor of that. So I personally don't feel comfortable going that route. I would rather see the resolution state in there, something to the effect that the board is in favor of the Valento Trail coming through the township, but we do not want to be held, not hostage, but requiring that their first design is not ours. Something to that effect. Now, I don't, like I said, whether it has to be in the resolution or not, I'm not a big fan of having somebody go back and look at the minutes on what we decided, even though we passed the resolution. And it sounds like you've got some time, we could maybe re-look at this, redraft it, come back in 2 weeks? For the resolution?
Come back to another meeting, or
Well,
just-
actually, I don't
just
even know
work-
if you'd have to even come back for that. We could,
No, I don't know if I would, unless that's what your protocol is. I mean, I can work with you to just revise that resolution.
I would
in
suggest
regards.
that.
And-
If they're willing to do that,
Yeah,
right.
I'm willing to do that. And again, the text, or what you see in your resolution right now, that was as far as, it's a template, it's a draft, and that's as far as what I put together. I mean, I feel comfortable, we can come to a compromise and adjust things around as what's needed.
it would just be for a comfort zone for us, seeing we're not in favor of one or the other. We'd like to keep them all on the table, and we don't want to prioritize any of them.
I think this topic in particular elicits a pretty wide spectrum of opinion on it. So I think the board maintaining its options is probably healthy for them.
Yeah, and really, the ultimate thing is what we're looking for to put in there, and as well as when we bring it to the board. They want to know, that, like, our county board is going to want to know that we talked to you, and you are in support of the master plan document, but like you said, you want to keep your options open as planning, higher level of planning proceeds.
All right, perfect.
Yeah. To support the concern is in your cover memo real quickly. It says the Bruce Vento Regional Trail Master Plan will address boundaries, expansion, acquisition, trail alignment, changes, long-term site and infrastructure improvements, recreation improvements, trailheads and amenities, and it kind of summarizes that what the plan is the plan, and that's what I think our overall concern is that if choice number one is in the master plan, and these other ones have already been all eliminated, we're down to about 3 choices, all of which have issues for us, or 2 of the 3 do anyway.
Any one of those routes in that graphic, if it's option 1, 2, or 3, are still going to have those same components. So when we put together our master plan and we submit it to the Metropolitan Council, in each one of those master plans, they need to hit components, and all those components are typically in the master plan at some level. So some master plans need much more, and you have a larger, bigger vision, and you're seeking a lot more of those. Some have a lot less. It just depends, but you still hit all those components within that master plan document.
All right, well, if you folks could do that for us, that'd be great, and then we could deal with it. Like I said, this could even be done, I don't know if you'd have to show up again for the second one. If we can get that resolved in the next resolution, then we can move on.
Okay.
All right? That work for the board?
Works for me. Yes.
All right, do we,
Thank you.
Chad, do we need a formal motion for that or not, or you can just table it?
Tabled.
Just table it.
All right,
Just move it.
looking for a motion to table?
I'll move to table the resolution in support of the Bruce Vento Trail until at least the next meeting? Or
I would
whenever you
suggest
get back
table
to
it to
it.
a certain-
When you guys feel comfortable getting back to us, I think.
Next Thursday?
I can turn around a revised resolution, and I can work with the township.
Couple weeks?
A revised resolution, I can get it back to you here in the next couple of days.
Well, we'll have it for our next
We'll
board
table it
meeting.
till the next board
Table it
meeting.
pending revisions being
And I don't
returned
have
from
the
Ramsey
date,
County.
15th? What is the next meeting?
19th.
19th. All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. All right, moving on. Not very far, though. South Shore Boulevard, Lake Links Trail.
More trail talk. This is the corridor of South Shore Boulevard on the south side of White Bear Lake. Involves both the city of White Bear and the town of White Bear, and then moves east through Birchwood and around White Bear Lake. Several communities involved here. Been a group working on this, a representative from all the communities on the corridor, primarily, again, White Bear Lake and the town. Been working with Kimley Horn, which is a planning outfit, who's been putting together a detailed plan based on input from the group. We talked a little bit about this at the executive meeting the other day. They're looking at corridor, the same corridor along South Shore Boulevard, looking at options, two-way, one-way eastbound, one-way westbound. The preferred option would be one-way. That's preferred by residents. Cost-wise, that's a less expensive option that works within the corridor, actually within the paved area of the road right now, versus a two-way road with an off-road trail. That just takes up much more of the corridor. Beyond the corridor, and a lot more expensive. The plan, again, that we passed around to the group and that you've looked at is the one-way option, not preferred eastbound or westbound. There's both options included there. Okay, so anyway, the one-way option shows a 10-foot wide drive lane, 8-foot wide parking shoulders, a 10-foot wide separated trail with a grass or green median between the two. Curb and gutter is also planned as part of this. With the reconstruction utilizing the one-way plan as they're showing, there's actually a net loss of impervious area. It's actually about 2 acres worth that would be converted from impervious to green. The plan also includes the option requested by the neighbors to look into is burying the wiring. Right now it's overhead wiring, so there's a cost estimate to do that of 1.3 to 1.4 million. Not required,
But considered.
but being considered.
While you're on that, I thought that was up to the residents had to pay for that.
Well, then you have the connection between the buried wire and the homes. So add another 2,500 to 5,000 per resident along the route there. Anyway, it's just thrown out there as this is something that's also been requested for us to look at, so they've looked at it and they have the costs there. Street lights are another thing. Those could be added along the corridor at a cost of about $650,000. Total cost for the project is showing approximately $6 million. 52% of the route is within the city of White Bear, 48% in the township. One-way consideration, eastbound, westbound. I know the board hasn't weighed in on that yet, or you've had some input, but we've solicited input from the fire department, county engineers, city of Birchwood have all weighed in, and they have a preference.
And sheriff's office.
And sheriff's, okay,
Yes.
with a westbound preferred option. Being that it would be a possibility of a one-way, there is a turnback. The town has told the county, basically, who has the jurisdiction over the road right now, that they don't do one-ways. If it comes back to the town, we're not real excited about that unless there's some type of financial commitment. So
Correct.
Patrick has some information on a potential offer from the county to do that.
Thank you, Tom. You left me with the really good news. The partnership that Ramsey County is considering with the city, the county, and the township would have to do with fronting cash to the township in 2 different funds. The first phase of the project would be a 10 to 15-year reconstruction, of which Ramsey County would supply cash to the township to cover that cost of construction. And the second half would be a mill and overlay to last an additional 15 years, of which the county would front the cost to the township. Now, the actual number there is to be determined yet, from our conversation this last weekend. Cost immediately to the township would be approximately $65,000 to $66,000. Now, what comes with the cash being provided to the township for the reconstruct portion of the project, the first 10 to 15 years, is a 2-year maintenance agreement where the county would take over and maintain the project for us, during which time we would find room in our budget to cover it going forward. Am I missing anything? Yeah, that was the extent of it right now. So basically what they're looking for, or what both the city and the county are looking for from the township, is philosophically, where are we with going about it this way, and financially.
Did you say both the city and the county?
City, county, and township. Yeah, the county and city are looking to see what kind of what our position is on this type of an arrangement. So nothing formal has been proposed. They're kind of waiting for feedback on us before they start getting us numbers.
And what is the city's position?
Sounds to me like they're in favor of it.
Now, the one-way would be in the township.
Are you disagreeing with me?
I have not heard a solid commitment one way or the other, but
Yeah.
I think that's the feeling.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna put up a barrier to it, let's just put it that way. Now, their commitment, especially on the maintenance side, is less impactful to them than our maintenance costs would be going forward. So I don't, from that standpoint, there is a significant difference between our partnership. I mean, we've got a smaller budget, but an equal amount of area, almost equal amount of area in which to maintain. So that will impact us going forward. But basically, rebuilding it to our requested specs in 2 phases, essentially is kind of the carrot here.
So again, it's the building it the one way. The county would, they're going to rebuild it regardless, but the preferred option is one way.
Yeah.
And it would be to our standards, which are probably, I suspect their standards are pretty dang good as well.
Our standards are the best in Ramsey County, Scott.
Okay. That's great. And so they're going to build it, and then after 15 years, they'll do a mill and overlay.
Correct. During which, or both phases would be covered in cash up front to us to cover costs of both phases of the project.
I guess I'm still kind of struggling with that part of let's just say that it wasn't going to be one way. Let's just say, for argument's sake, it's going to be 2-way. The county pays for it.
If it's 2-way,
Yeah, the county still has to do the road.
well,
If it's 2-way, we
if it's
still-
part of a turn back to us.
No, we're not talking about turn.
Oh, you mean, so they're just doing
Just
it
doing
and
the road.
then maintaining it
Right.
from there on.
And they would still have to do, in 15 years, a mill and overlay, because they still own the road.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they would be doing
Okay, so-
in that scenario. That didn't come across in our conversation.
That scenario is just too expensive for consideration, in my opinion.
I understand that
There's
part.
quite a bit
I'm
of
trying to
property
understand.
acquisition.
I'm trying to understand what's the carrot.
Oh, sure. The carrot is, they're gonna rebuild the road for us.
They just rebuilt Bald Eagle Avenue, Bald Eagle
Boulevard.
and H2. How would that be different than,
Well, it's, the difference is our responsibility after the initial 2 years.
okay, so then that would be the snow plowing and the.
Yeah, that's us.
If it's one way.
If it's one way.
The seal coating,
Yeah,
the patching.
all that
and
stuff.
ultimately, the mill and overlay, is that right?
No, mill and overlay, so they'll reconstruct it in the first phase, that will cover it in 10 to 15 years. Second phase is 15 to 30, in which they would cover the mill and overlay. So maintenance is our responsibility between those 2 points after the first 2 years. So basically, it's reconstructed to our specs and standards. 2 years the county takes over, or 2 years the county maintains the trail, everything. After that, we take it over. But they are still responsible for the mill and overlay at that halfway point of the 30-year cycle.
Larry, how much maintenance would be between, tomorrow it's done as a one-way. The township doesn't have to plow it for 2 years. How much maintenance do we have before the first mill and overlay?
Good question.
I mean, we're talking what, gravel and tar a couple times, or?
Yeah, if you remember the graph I had for maintenance, there's probably 2 or 3 crack seals and seal coats during that 15 years, first 15 years, before you do the mill and overlay.
And just idea of the cost of that, or not? What is it?
Well,
Under-
our annual cost maintaining, what Dale estimated at a one-way was $8,500.
That's just the plowing.
Yeah.
Maintenance plowing. I'm talking about the.
Oh, the
cost of-
capital.
Can I just make a suggestion that we take this off this topic right now and have it at the exec meeting where we can put some thoughts together on costs and benefits?
Oh, okay.
I think we're not gonna make
Good
it,
point.
there's no decision we have to make. We
No.
can ask 1,000 questions without any answers tonight, and I think it's something to consider, but I don't think this is the place to consider. I think we need to talk about it. That's just
It's a
my
good point.
opinion.
You're right.
Wasn't there a timing component this week, Tom?
I think there was.
Thanks, Larry.
Because I think you're right. I think we need to know the maintenance costs and really what the anticipated costs, even the mill and overlay. How much money are we talking? And quite honestly, my rub with the county, it'd have to be an ironclad agreement because promises were made and promises not kept on H2, as far as I'm concerned. And management changes, county commissioners change,
Sure.
public works change. And to rely on a 15-year commitment has got to be contractually bound, period. If
And that's
we're
fine.
gonna do-
If that's the direction of the board, I essentially could tell you that the contingency of Ramsey County officials less one would be in front of you for your executive board on the 23rd of October, and you can ask them those questions if you like. We can also have some data from Larry as well. That's fine. I mean, if they have to wait for us, they have to wait for us. I mean,
Yeah, I'd like to know what the maintenance costs are and give Dale some time to put together what he
Probably.
sees, so we know what we're buying into, because one-ways, once we open the door for one-ways, it's not only South Shore Boulevard, now it's Bald Eagle West, it's Bald Eagle East, it's this, it's that. And we can't take back county roads and put the tax burden on our citizens without knowing what we're committing to.
first of all, Scott, were you going to say something?
We probably need to have Dale and not his substitute here to answer questions.
Bingo, bingo.
Gee, thanks. I would also remind the board, and we brought this up at the August executive board meeting, is that by statute, the county can do this without our consent. I think that's the hammer.
They can do what?
It can rebuild the road for us and turn it back.
Yeah, there's,
Oh, couldn't remember that.
that was brought up, I think I saw it about 5 weeks ago, which was a little, and that's why I was going with Bald Eagle Boulevard on the east side. Coming down with Valento Trail, they're always gonna say, that's where the trail's going, it will be a one-way.
I believe a majority vote of the County Board of Commissioners can do that by statute. So, I think this is our opportunity on the front end to consider that as having a little bit of control of the
But
process.
I look at it the opposite way, is at least the board was consistent on our view, and we have no control if they're gonna run it down our.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that you get away from that being forced on you.
Yes. But again, to cut back to this project, I think we have to make an informed decision, and that we don't have the facts in front of us to make an informed decision as
Okay.
far as that cost.
Maybe
and
we
benefit.
have the new guy come talk to us again.
Oh. Public Works, gentlemen?
Dan? John? One of those two. He's the new guy with Ramsey.
They're turning over people there like
Yeah,
crazy.
Rachel,
Talking about, you talking Ted, Brian?
not Ted.
Brian Eisenson or John
Matuzzo.
Mazzatello or?
That's him.
Yep.
Is he Public Works?
I probably mispronounced the last.
That's all right. But Rachel Broughton just left.
Yes.
We've been working with her with the last year on that.
She was the,
Yeah. So she won't be there in October, but we can certainly have a contingency of county personnel to help us through this.
Well, Tom, does the county have a project timeline schedule or not?
2022, so that's what I'm hearing.
Let's talk with Dale.
Planning for something in 2022.
All right, 'cause I believe the funding or something has to be spent by then, doesn't it?
There's some grant funding
Right.
involved, yep.
All right, so it's not like we're under the thumb tonight.
No.
Okay.
I'll just wrap this up for me. If you want to get back to the people, I would say I'm interested, but I need more detail.
Okay,
I mean, can you live with that? Mr.
that's fair.
Chair?
All right, so need a motion to table this?
I'll make a motion to table the South Shore Boulevard Lake Links Trail subject.
To the executive meeting of
The
October 23rd.
executive meeting at the end of October.
Yep.
And that is the
23rd.
fourth Friday.
23rd.
All right, because if you noticed, our calendar we got sent out was not right. 23rd, okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? All right, that motion carries. Open time. Larry, you got anything else? All right, no added agenda items. Item
sir.
11, I need a motion to receive agenda materials and supplements.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:19.
Yep, sorry, we didn't make your goals.
Swing and a miss.
Man, I thought we'd
I
get done with this one
knew
early.
the conversation.